continue our show with talking about the AFC South this week. And the first team we're going to talk about is the Indianapolis Colts. And I'm going to try and do a different format. Instead of having three separate videos, I'm going to try and do it all in one video and see how it works. All right, we're talking about the Indianapolis Colts. Oof, they had a bad season. Mostly because Andrew Luck was unavailable for the entire season. And there's hope going into it that he could be back in week one. He's still under the process of yet to throw football, so they're kind of hoping, sometime this week, probably training camp, he'll start throwing a football, but I think it's highly doubtful he'll be ready for week one, I think. Maybe sometime with on the pub list, but hey, they might have to go with Jacoby Brissett probably for another season. I don't think Luck's going to be back this season. And that really puts a damper on his season because to the Colts, it's all about if Andrew Luck can come back and if they can have a better season. If Luck does come back, they'll have a slightly better season. But this is not a good team. This is not a good roster to deal with. They just don't have enough talent. They don't have enough talent to really do anything. There's barely any star players. They got a few players that they're really hoping will turn out well and bloom, but this is not a talented roster. It isn't talent filled. And going position by position, like I said, Andrew Luck is he's a great quarterback. Just through bad team building, they killed him. And I'm hoping he can come back. I'm hoping he can still throw the ball, but right now they basically killed him. I mean, here are the star players just on offense. You have T.Y. Hilton. You have Jack Doyle, who's really emerged. Anthony Costanzo. You probably think, oh, there's a couple more players. But no, that's basically it. Running backfield isn't worth talking. Doesn't have really anyone. After T.Y. Hilton and wide receiving core, it severely drops in talent. Tight end, really Eric Ebron. And, Doyle's good. Offensive line, you got Costanzo. I know they drafted Quinn Nelson and Braden Smith, but they've yet to play a single down. I'm not going to award them stud star status yet. And defense, it's just as barren. It's just as barren, if not more. And looking at position by position, of course, you got the running backfield. They let Frank Gore walk. And I think it's probably going to be Marlon Mack, Kieran Allo, probably Robert Turbin, Christine Michael might. Well, if they can even make the roster. I think they'd like Nyheim Hines to really come out and start playing and probably be the third down running back. But, yeah, it's basically on hope. And a lot of the roster is basically based on hope and dreams. So, yeah, you probably got Mack and Hines probably being the main backs. Pretty scattered throughout the rest. It depends who makes a roster. Ferguson is a borderline passable third down back. Christine Michael's one of those guys that he'll have a good game, then just be off a roster in 5 weeks. Turbin is a forever backup, and that's basically it when considering the running backs. Now the wide receiver core, T.Y. Hilton. I'm glad he turned out well. He became a real stud. But then you look at it, it drops dramatically. Their next best wide receiver is Ryan Grant. Ryan Grant, a fourth-string wide receiver that's being propelled to second wide receiver. And he's basically a pretty good slot, borderline good possession wide receiver. They got a couple rookies in Dion Kane and Doris Fountain. But otherwise, it's just, again, let's see how many young players can really turn in and give us either a promising or a great performance this season. It depends who the quarterback is, whether it's going to be Luck or Brissett, if Brad Kaya somehow develops. But yeah, I think if Luck can maintain that level of elite performance that he had before the injury, I think the Colts have a good road in the future. This year, no. They still need more talented, more blue chip players, not just all these white collar players. Not these. They need more blue chip players and less blue collar players. And looking at their offensive line, they improved it. Costanzo and rookie Quinn Nelson are most likely going to solidify the left side of the line. So that's one good thing. Brian Kelly, I think, if he can stay healthy and there's more consistency throughout the line, he'll improve. But then there's the right side of the line, which is going to be an up for grabs position battle, both for right guard and right tackle. Now, I have no idea what they might try and do. They could probably have Braden Smith play guard and kick Buhort at tackle, or vice versa. They could have Joe Haig play tackle with Braden Smith at guard, or etc. They're going to try and have different type of positions. It's going to be a huge position battle to see who will play on the right side of the line, who will play both the right guard and the right tackle. Considering offensive line has basically killed Andrew Luck and put his future in jeopardy. So, and again, looking at the offense, it's filled with a lot of questions. There's not enough talent. I mean, I loved Quinn Nelson coming out. I like Quinn Nelson going to this team when I was looking at the draft and seeing, who the Colts should get. Even back when they had the third overall pick, I said, go for Quinn Nelson. He's a guaranteed starter. He'll guarantee improve your offensive line. He's a dominant run blocker, a good pass blocker. He can really help solidify the interior offensive line and help the run game really get on the rails. And I think pairing him up with Costanzo, I think both of them can improve immensely. Benefiting from each other, kind of like how Nelson benefited with Mike McGlinchey back in Notre Dame. But the right side of the line is definitely going to be filled with question marks, and who knows what might happen. I think they're hoping Braden Smith turns out into something. He might be the flex lineman. I think they want Jack Buhort to start because he is a good offensive lineman. Just injuries the last 2 seasons have really stymied his effectiveness. And, of course, his right tackle, I think they want Joe Haig to do it. They might have a couple other players they might want to do it. But, I don't know. It's just going to be one big old position battle after another on that offensive line. And then continuing with their defense, once again, barely any star-studded players. You have, let's see, Jabal. I'll give the benefit of the doubt and say Jabal Sheard. I think he's a borderline good star talent. And then, let's see. Okay, I'll give it to you, Malik Hooker. And that's it. Five. Not counting Luck. 5 players. 5. Offense and defense combined. 5 blue chip talented players. This team's not going to do well. I'm sorry. This team is not going to do well even if Andrew Luck comes back. There's not enough players. I think the GM knew this, and he just said, you know what? We're going through a rebuilding process. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see which players stick, and we're hoping that, we'll get some good draft picks. We'll probably be in the top 10 a couple times, and get some really good players, and get some stadium filling players. And looking at their defense, defensive line, they went all out on edge rushers. I mean, of course, you got John Simon and Jabal Sheard probably being your primary pass rushers, but they also draft Kamiko. I'm sorry, he's not on this page. Yeah, Kamiko Toure and Tyquan Lewis, both in the second round, both in day 2. I think Tyquan Lewis was a third-round pick, and they drafted Toure in the second round. So they really want to try and get after the quarterback, getting a ton of pass rushers. Their defensive line might be okay. Interior might be okay. They drafted Grover Stewart. Hopefully they play the nose tackle. They still have Al Woods, which I'm not granting that blue. I don't think he's a blue chip talent. I think he's a good starter, but really nothing to say, hey, we have Al Woods in our defense. Fear him. And then after that, it's just depth players, but that's primarily it. No one really worthy to say, hey, watch out for this guy. He could really turn into something. I think the edge rushing talent is definitely going to be something to keep an eye on. I think John Simon had a very good season. They also have Terrell Basham, who they drafted last season. They're going to trade some of these players. I think they might trade Simon. I think they might trade Jabal Sheard because of these reasons. cap freedom and promoting these young edge rushers. They want to see what these guys can get. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade Terrell Basham just because they drafted Lewis and Teray in the draft this season. In the draft. And then looking at their linebacker core, it's very terrible. It's terrible. It is god awful. They drafted a couple players. They got Darius Leonard. They have Sky Moore, and that's it. That's kind of it. They have some other players they really want to try out, but there's no one really there to say, "Hey, watch out for this guy. He could really turn into something." And I mean, they're hoping, I guess, Anthony Walker will turn into something, but it's just not that talent. And this has been a problem since Gary Brackett started getting less and less effective. They really haven't had a dominant linebacking core to really strike fear into these quarterbacks and these defense and those opponent offenses. They're hoping some of these young linebackers will turn up, but they really don't have a real commander or a real leader in that defense. That was one reason why they signed DeQuell Jackson back in 2014. Yeah, 2014, because they needed kind of a leader. Sure, he wasn't nearly as effective as he was back when he was with the Browns. Shocker. But he was an effective leader until he just couldn't do what they needed to do. And then, oh boy, the defensive backfield. Once again, just a ton of young talent with no real clear leader. I guess the starting two corners might be Quincy Wilson and Pierre Desir. They're average, I guess, but really nothing to starstruck. There's going to be a big old battle for the third corner. Just imagine every single battle. Just imagine this entire defense being one giant position battle. It's not going to be entertaining. It's not going to be this team that knows what it wants to do and has an identity and has a clear goal. No, this team is a rebuilding team. They're trying to get the good. They're trying to sort out the good players from the crap, and they're trying to see what they're going to get and see what they can get. Thank God they have Malik Hooker. He is a real stud until the torn ACL happened. I think he would have led the NFL in interceptions had he not torn his ACL. And of course, I don't know why they still have TJ Green. Fast, can tackle, nothing inside that skull, however. But Matthias Farley, good tackler, good run supporter. So that defense, it's going to be a bottom 5 defense. It's going to get picked apart. It's a fantasy owner's dream to play a quarterback that's playing this team. It's not going to. They're just trying to figure out what they want to do and what they want. I feel that this coach and offensive and the coordinators that they have, they're just trying to get talent into that team. And throughout training camp, you're going to see tons of position battles. And then looking at their schedule, well, they have some levity, but playing in the AFC South, which has become tougher. Texans, the division-winning Jaguars, the Titans. I'd be surprised if they can beat one of them. If they can just beat one of them, go 1-5 in that division, that's progress in my opinion. But it's a tough. They're facing against tough players, and then they have to play the NFC East too. The Giants, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Redskins. This is not an easy schedule for them. This isn't something that, this is playoff worthy. If they have more talent, there'd be more levity. But no, with a bad schedule, not enough talent, and both teams, this team's going to be drafting top 10 again in 2019. That's why I think their record's going to be 4-12. This is not a team that is going to make a threat in the playoffs. It's not going to be this division threatening team. It's not going to improve in various ways. Even if Luck comes back, even if Andrew Luck comes back this season, it's not going to make a lick of difference. It's not enough talent. We don't know what kind of shape he's in. Once he starts throwing a football and coaches kind of got an idea, maybe it might help, But no, tough schedule, not enough talent. It's not. Luck can probably lead them to a 79 season at best. And that's if he returns to that 2016 or 2014 style before the shoulder injury. And that's if the offensive line improves. I think the offense can probably carry that defense on some games, but it's just going to be overwhelmed week after week, nonstop, with inadequacy. It's not a good team. I don't see them going to the playoffs at all. If they do, then the only way I can see this team going to the playoffs is if there's an injury. If so many teams in the AFC just have an injury-riddled season and they lose all their star players. That's the only way I can see them making the playoffs. I do not see anything that would convince me at all that this is either a playoff team or a team that will not finish in the top 10 in next year's draft. See you next time.